Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca. Today we are switching gears. I finally get to share with you my outdoor baby. This is the start of my garden, something I've been dreaming about forever. And we originally were just kind of testing the soil and testing different spots in our yard to see what was the best option for our trees, our backyard orchard, and all of the raised beds in the greenhouse. So we had originally had them where you saw kind of in the middle of the yard, and we actually decided to move everything back. So we had staked everything out with flags off of Amazon, and I'm just going to share that journey with you. I've been recording for the last few months. We are starting the garden. I am like so excited, and I put the first T-pole in the ground, and when I tell you I'm like beyond elated, I cannot explain. I'm going to use some string. We're probably going to use the back fence as like a little bit more like stability. I'm going to drive some posts in the ground just so that I know like where I need to rototill. We have extremely rocky ground. My husband has been working on getting a lot of the like massive weeds out of the way. This is my project, so I kind of want to do most of it myself. As much as he wants to help, I want to do it. Makes it sweeter when like things are going to start growing. So I'm just going to kind of document this, one, for myself and my kids, because we did that last year, and two, it's going to really start making this like a homestead, and I cannot wait. So for those of you who are here just for the fencing, the first 3 minutes of this video is what you're going to want to watch. We actually were able to recycle fencing from a neighbor who didn't need it anymore, and we are so blessed to have that. But you can use any sort of galvanized wire. There's so many different measurements, heights. You're going to need a ton of T-poles, and you're going to need a T-post driver. These, I promise you, will absolutely save your back and your time. They are not as complicated as they seem. You can either use T-post clips. Those are a little bit more heavy duty, or you can go the route that I did and use zip ties. Zip ties, number one, this is my first time doing this fencing, and two, they're super easy and really inexpensive. And you're gonna need a really good pair of wire cutters, and I will explain that in a moment. So garden fencing kind of always overwhelmed me, but it's something that I needed to just kind of dive into. And for the sake of this being our first year with a really large garden, it's about 1,000 square feet, including all of the fruit trees. So I knew that I wanted something that was tall. We have to worry about a ton of wildlife out here, especially deer and any other creature you can imagine. So a lot of this is recycled. Not all of my T-posts are actually straight. So I just grabbed some Dollar Tree string that I had laying around in my garden, and I tied it to the back of our fence just to make sure that when I did line everything up, everything potentially, was going to be straight. So a lot of the fencing is a little bit bent, but that's the great thing about using this metal fencing. It's extremely easy to kind of maneuver. It's very malleable. You can bend it, and it's really easy to work with. So this is my first time ever doing this, and there were quite a few times that I tried to get the T-post into the ground, and it just was not working. So I could have used the water from the hose and just kind of wet the soil, let it soak in, but I'm impatient, so I just decided to dig out a little bit of a hole to help it go in when I did use the driver, and then it worked like a charm. So you don't need to do this if you have really rocky soil. Just kind of maybe wet the ground before, or wait till it's like early in the morning when there's a little bit of dew in the air and the soil's a little bit more damp. I would highly recommend, if you do have to worry about critters and you are especially doing something like a garden, whether that's flowers or if it's gonna actually be food in your garden, bury as much of the fencing as you can. I buried probably about 2 or 3 panels, and it's really easy to just step on it and it just bends right in, and then I covered it up with soil. Again, you can use the T-post ties, they are metal, or you can just go with straight zip ties. I have not had any problems with the actual structure or integrity of this fencing. It moves with the wind and it stays where it needs to stay. You can see me kind of bending it, and the string just helps guide you so that you know that the fencing is going to stay straight. Again, this is recycled fencing, so ideally you would be able to just kind of wrap around each T-post that you do put into the ground, but I had to kind of meld these pieces together. We are ripping everything up in the backyard, and that's why you see me digging dirt from just random holes. My husband later comes back and covers them up for me. But again, the soil was so rocky, so it was just really hard to get some of these T-posts into the ground, or we'd run into like massive rocks. It just took a lot of time. So hopefully when you do this, you won't have as much work to do, but they should be able to just go into the ground fairly easy. The T-posts are amazing. There are plastic ones, and then there are metal ones like this. They're fairly inexpensive, and I think these are quite a few years old, so I'm sure that they last forever as long as you take care of them. Even some of them that were bent, I was able to kind of just hammer them straight, and they worked out just fine. If you are new to my channel, I do have 2 little boys, and they are outside all the time with mommy, and they love to be outside, so it's super fun. And we started a garden randomly last year, and it was just a bunch of random things that we tried growing in our soil and different soil that we purchased from the store, so it was super fun to watch them. My sons fell in love with starting seedlings. We had kind of a tricky season this year, start to the season, so we did purchase starts that you'll see at the end of the video, but I love knowing that this is something that our entire family is going to enjoy, and my dream is to hopefully be able to harvest quite a bit of food that we can actually eat from this year. And I would love to get into canning or preserving, so if you're into any of that or you have any experience, please let me know. Leave any of your suggestions down below.
You said that you needed me like a cargo, you will carry me.
Okay, so this is why I mentioned that you're going to want a great pair of wire cutters. Don't buy the cheap option, buy the better option. My husband has instilled that in me since we've been married. I tend to go for the cheaper option, but I'm sure this is something that's going to come in handy and you'll have on hand for a while. These wire cutters, there are pieces that you may have to cut, or you decide you're going to put a gate in, or you actually need to piece them together like I've done. It takes some time, have some patience. Once you get used to just bending the wire, it's like second nature. It'll take you no time at all. It is a little tedious, but you're going to want to make sure that you do actually bend it enough so that a critter, 1, can't get into it, and 2, it's just not going to fall to the elements and fall apart. Then all of your hard work goes to nothing. The zip ties, again, have worked out wonderfully. I think long term we are going to end up actually extending the garden a little bit, including an area for the chickens, and we are actually going to install a gate pretty soon. So I think we may change out the zip ties for the actual metal clips, but that'll come in another day.
I just hope you know my depth, even though it makes no sense.
See here, just to show you, this is what you're going to want to bury. Again, we buried about 2.5 to 3 panels. We had quite a bit of dirt that we used from other parts of the yard, just to make sure that if you do have a problem with like moles or gophers or raccoons or anything like that that would try to dig and get into the garden, you have some sort of safety net. And then if you wanted to go a step further, you could actually use chicken wire, the chicken wire mesh at the very bottom of the garden. We're going to end up doing that around the chicken run and probably the bottom of this garden, just to make sure that when we do put fruits and vegetables in here with the trees and everything, it's an investment. It's an investment in time, it's an investment in money, and it's something that you want to fruit. So I would just recommend take that extra step when you are quote unquote predator proofing everything, just to make sure that you are able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Okay, so now that we have gotten most of the T-posts into the ground, it was super exciting to actually watch them be put up and then be able to attach the fencing. That was the funnest part. It goes super quickly, especially if you use zip ties. I would pick up the thicker ones. I think the most time consuming would be this here, just kind of bending the wire pieces together, making sure that they were tight enough that they wouldn't break and or come loose. So I'm super excited to start actually tilling the ground. It is pretty uneven. So there was quite a few hours that we spent back here, my husband and I, while the kids were playing, just taking out massive roots of just plants that we didn't want back here or weeds and all of the above. So it was time to till the soil, and honestly we did that just mainly to kind of patch some of the holes or some of the uneven spots. I wasn't looking for a perfectly leveled garden. It's not something that I need if, you know, we're planting all of the fruit trees, and then I will be doing most of my planting in raised garden beds or raised containers. So it's not needed for this to be perfectly leveled. And ultimately we decided, just because of how rocky the soil is and some of the soil tests that we've done in this area, to plant above ground just for this year. And a few years coming, who knows, this may change. I like to change my mind a lot. So later in the video, you'll see what we end up turning this into, but it was nice to just kind of till the soil and make it a little bit more of an easier working space so that we could lay the cardboard down and then lay down the weed screen.
When we first met, couldn't keep my hands away. I was speechless when we first met. Yeah, you took the pain away. Didn't mind my scars, mend my broken heart. Life was dull until you came.
You're still hanging out with me. Again, this is just kind of a time lapse of the things that we've done so far in the backyard, in the garden area. So these are 3 of the first 12 trees that we put into the ground. These redwoods, we did actually find these and purchase from Costco. They were an amazing deal. My husband and my father-in-law went to Costco that same evening and we had to have them. So I dug these holes, and you guys, these holes, well, my husband dug most of them. He did these, and these holes do not do justice. In person, they are so much bigger and deeper. And again, you can just see how rocky the soil is, but I promise you, we planted these and then a snowstorm hit a week later and they survived, to my surprise. First time ever planting trees, and this was a great test. So you'll see here they had really healthy roots and they didn't have any damage, which was surprising. And Costco did not disappoint. They said if they had any problems, of course we could take them back as long as we brought them back in the same pot. So I'm going to go ahead and get these planted in ground. And based on a lot of research that my husband and I did, we did not amend any of the soil. We planted them in the native soil, and then you'll see that I put a little bit of compost, topsoil, and mulch on the very top. Something that we wanted the roots to get acclimated to our soil and kind of seek that out instead of seeking out a different soil that they won't be living in long term. So do what works best for you, but this is just what I found and what I thought would be beneficial. And then I do go ahead and trim a little bit off of the bottom, not too much. They were pretty healthy from what I could see, and just anything that I think had any damage from transport and or looked frail.
It could rain, I don't mind if it pours, 'cause I'm right next to you.
If you happen to trim your trees, just make sure that you are cleaning your shears between each tree so that you're not spreading any potential diseases, and also make sure that you get a clean cut. I think that that's really important. You want to get the cut as close to the trunk as possible so that it's less room for disease. So again, this is my first time planting trees, so all of this is just information I've picked up from other videos, watching other people plant trees. And when you are placing compost, if you decide to amend your soil and put it at the bottom, or if you decide to do it the way I've done it and put it sort of around the tree, make sure that you're actually not putting it on or near the tree trunk or anywhere near the graft point. You can actually burn the tree with the compost, so make sure that you keep it pretty far out, as well as the mulch. You do want to give a little bit of breathing room for the actual trunk itself. When you are planting, make sure that the graft point is actually facing north so that the graft point does not get burned by the sun. That wouldn't be healthy for the tree either.
Never thought I'd feel this high. The sky has never felt this close, and when you kiss me, I can't believe that I am yours and you are mine. You took the pain away, didn't mind my scars, mend my broken heart. Life was dull until you came. Now I see in color again. It could rain, I don't mind if it pours, 'cause I'm right next to you, to you. Come rain or come shine, I don't mind, 'cause I'm right next to you. It's true, right next to you, to you, next to you, next to you. Next to you. Who would have thought I'd be up on cloud nine? I would never take our love for granted. Love how you make me feel alive when you're with me. Took the pain away, didn't mind my scars and my broken heart. It could rain, I don't mind if it pours, 'cause I'm right next to you, to you. Come rain or come shine, I don't mind, 'cause I'm right next.
So these redwoods were something that we had kind of talked about but hadn't really planned. And this is just one of those things that they popped up at the right time and the right price. And lo and behold, now we have 3 beautiful redwood trees at the back of our fence. And I cannot wait to see these flourish. They're going to be massive and beautiful, and they've already grown so much. So now we will be moving into the fruit trees. Worms are cute, huh? Say ew, but good job, Worm. He's healthy looking. He's a big one. He's a big one, huh? There's a whole family. That's a good sign, huh? They're coming out. See, it's almost springtime.
Springtime.
Say bye-bye, little worm.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye, little worm.
Yeah,
These are all over the yard. Okay, don't put snow in there.
Why?
Cause okay, you guys, so I don't know what video this is in the garden series, but I'm so excited because it's snowed, and I'll include, if you followed along with my channel, it's cold outside, but it's our first like sunny day after the snow. Most of our snow has melted in the backyard, and I tried to dig a hole because the redwoods that we planted 3. They survived a snowstorm. We planted them a week prior. They're trying to bury the worms. Right. We're burying worms with dirt. You guys, the ground came up. Obviously, it's like extremely moist in the ground, and I dug all 5 holes in like 20 minutes. So versus the redwood holes took me probably like, one of them took me like 45 minutes. So I'm elated. I cannot wait for it to dry up a little bit and not be so cold and pass our first frost so that we can plant these trees. But after we plant the trees, I'm gonna lay some weed screen, we'll mulch around them, and then I finally get to put my greenhouse in here. I cannot wait. Okay, so here are the 5 or 6 holes that we had dug for the trees. And the kids wanted to play in the snow one last time before it melted, and I was like, let me try and see if I can dig at least one hole. And of course it was just like a mudslide. The kids were having so much fun and it was great. So you can see that the lot behind us has a higher grade level than we do, and my husband and I decided that until we replace the fence, we're just gonna actually put up some paneling for privacy, and so that their foliage doesn't continue to creep through our fence. So we had a ton of fun. The redwoods were thriving, and eventually we'll have grass that comes out all the way towards the actual wheelbarrow.
Where are you
and
going?
The chickens will be over there.
What are you doing?
Wait.
Are you carrying the dirt so you can bury the worms? Are you burying the worms? Say bye-bye, worms. Bye-bye, worms. Oh, you guys are filling in the hole Mommy already buried. Oh, great job. Thank you for filling in the hole I just dug up. These, I have 2 crepe myrtle trees. I got these from the Arbor Day Foundation. I had no idea these were so small. I need to stake them correctly, but this is technically their 3rd or 4th season out here, and they've gotten significantly taller. They're gonna... This is the mound of rocks that was delivered, and I wasn't intimidated until we were about 15 wheelbarrows in, and we decided to lay the weed screen. I didn't film that. It was a little bit hard to film, but it was super easy. One, because the garden is just long. I was actually able to just roll everything out. We recycled cardboard for quite a few months just so that we had enough to cover underneath the weed screen. It is a natural mulch. I feel like cardboard is underrated. It's a great organic matter. It's basically free. You're already using it. There are a ton of businesses that will give you food grade cardboard. Make sure that you take any plastic off, and I think a good rule of thumb is that if the cardboard is shiny, it's probably not the best to use in your garden. My husband did actually purchase extra, they almost look like nails to go in the weed screen off of Amazon. I used 1 box. I actually like using those more than the actual pins that you get with the weed screen, but I will say that it did go down pretty easy. Here's an overview of all of the trees. I'm super excited to get the rocks in here. So I think in total we actually had, I think, 4 deliveries for all of these fruit trees. The first one is going to be the Washington navel orange tree. He was one of the last ones to be planted, and I think is still in a little bit of shock. Here are the privacy screenings. I'm not sure what they're called, but my husband found them on Wayfair. They are amazing. Again, my best friend in this video are zip ties. They zip tied to the chain link perfectly. Here's an overview of what the garden looks like. It is completed except for the outside lining. I'm actually going to be planting a pollinator garden on the outside perimeter and the gate. The rocks are about 2.5 inches thick, so we ordered quite a bit to make sure that we had a really good base, and I will be bordering each tree. This is actually the apricot tree, and it's thriving. It's doing really well. The buds are coming in beautifully. I'm super excited to see how this produces in the next few years. This is our peach tree,
It's gorgeous. When we first bought it, it had a ton of buds on it, and the birds came and attacked it the first day I put it in the ground. This is our plum tree, and it is a hybrid plum tree, so it's actually going to sprout 4 different types of plums, and I cannot wait to see that. You can see the critters have kind of already gotten to it. So there is the Santa Rosa plum, and you can see the new buds already forming. The Italian prune plum, blue Jameson, that's gorgeous. I looked up pictures, and then the Burbank plum. And here we're actually, my husband is helping me dig a trench. We have a apple tree, and then you saw we ordered a maple tree, and then a 4-type hybrid apple tree as well. Eventually I'm gonna extend this fencing out. I am missing another panel that I still have to purchase. So everything happens over time. It doesn't happen overnight. You may see something on the internet or whatnot, but just remember, don't compare your garden or your space to someone else's. It takes time. So this season was a little bit off, and everyone knows the weather has just been kind of insane lately. Our greenhouse did break last year, so we actually decided to just purchase a few starts. I am going to be moving the beds into the garden later into the season, so I'm probably going to do that mid-September once it's going to cool down a little bit. But my sons really enjoy tending to something over the summer, so we picked up cucumbers and we picked up a ton of tomatoes. My sons love tomatoes, snapdragons, daffodils, pepper plants, and a ton of other things, just something fun for us to plant. So we'll throw some fertilizer in the soil, and the soil is still pretty fresh. I think it's only about 1.5 years old, so we are still should be pretty healthy, and it's got a lot of compost in it, so I didn't want to overdo it. We'll plant these with the boys.
Is that cool? Is that the first time we found a lizard? Watch out. Don't touch him. He's trying to get away. Look.
Little cat.
He's trying to get away. Oh, look. There's another bug. Ew. Say bye-bye, baby lizard.
How about me?
No. Don't touch him.
What don't touch him?
He's trying to get out.
So these are volunteer sunflowers. I don't know if they're from last year or some of the random seeds that my sons helped me plant and just got somehow transferred into here ever since we planted trees. And every time we added a new tree, I promise you, we have like 20 new birds for each tree in the morning. It's gorgeous. I love watching them. And they just kind of pick at these beds because we've had nothing planted in them. We have some garlic that kind of sprouted back up, but I have sunflowers popping up everywhere, and I absolutely love it. My boys are helping me plant, and it's so sweet to watch them just kind of take in what they learned from last year. This is our second gardening season, so I'm super excited to see what we can get to pop up this year and how much fun they're gonna have knowing that they're a little bit older and a little bit wiser. So I am a homeschooling mom, and we had actually taken some orange seeds out of our lunch one day, and we put the seeds onto a tiny little piece of paper towel, sprinkled a ton of cinnamon on it, put it in an airtight container, and I put it in the cabinet above the stove. And you're supposed to leave it for about a week, and I actually forgot, so it was about 3 weeks. They sprouted roots, and the kids were super excited to put these into the ground. They will not turn into orange trees overnight, but I think it will be a great lesson for them to see the process of how it gets its first true leaves, and once it does get a little bit bigger, we will take these out and pot them up, and I think it will be really fun to watch these grow over the years. If you guys hung out with me for this long, thank you so much for hanging out. I hope that this gives you a little bit of motivation to start a garden, whether that's in your kitchen, on your windowsill, on your patio, or your backyard, your front porch. It's therapeutic. It's a great way to get your little ones involved, and I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Thank you so much for hanging out again. Subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, and I will see you guys in the next video.